So, you thought that she's different, that she's based, or maybe you saw her blushing and cooking something while wearing an apron and thought that this is the ideal trad wife and the perfect counter of all the Hollywood degeneracy. But if you think about it again, she's probably also engineered, just not in the way you think. Like, you might see them do chores or act cute, but then right away you'll find them explode with rage, have mental breakdowns, or straight up fan service you in seemingly inappropriate situations. They often never become mothers, almost always have an absent father, and they're neither patient nor emotionally stable. They're just making aesthetic mimicry that makes your brain trad detector triggered. In fact, this is what Hiraki Azuma called database consumption. Like, these characters aren't even cohesive, but are collections of moe elements pulled from a database. After Japan lost World War II, America basically rewrote Japan's whole constitution, education system, media landscape, and everything. And afterwards, we've got kawaii culture. And this is especially done since the government wanted to have a better image of itself to the world. You've probably seen this video before, which is unnecessarily too long, but talked about how kawaii culture was literally part of propaganda, quote unquote. The Japanese Foundation literally funds anime as a form of international diplomacy to rebrand the country with what's called Cool Japan. So you could just say that in a way, it's just a softer kind of global homo. This actually goes way back, maybe since the Meiji Restoration, where the British and Freemasons financed it and pulled Japan into the Western economic system, or in the Russo-Japanese War, which made Japan win at it due to Jacob Schiff's support. And these things kind of remind me of some conspiracy books, but let's not dive too much into that topic. There is also this book, Beautiful Fighting Girl by Saitō Tamaki, who is a practicing psychiatrist. He said that these anime girls, especially those deep ones, aren't loved because they're real characters, but because they're fictional. They are cultivated in what's called an ecosystem of fantasy. That's where otaku desire thrives, not toward real women, but towards the emotional safety of the drawings. It's that they don't reject and never change.
I'm God's chosen programmer to make his temple, and the language of the compiler is Holy See. This is the compiler is 20,000 lines of code. It has a assembler. It's 64-bit. I'm the best programmer on the fucking planet. Anyway, so fuck you.
Now, I know you might have thought that Asuka is definitely a counterexample to this, but she also still fits that archetype in a way. Not because every anime girl is docile, but because of the system of projection that otaku or weeps operate within, where the girl becomes whatever is needed through selective attention, so she gets flattened into tropes, and most fans don't engage with her full complexity, but rather project onto pieces of her. And even if they did love her in all her trauma and volatility, they are still a curated fictional illusion. And this exactly proves Saito's point, that the love is symbolic and unreciprocated by nature, which lives inside that ecosystem of fantasy. So that's what Saitō called moe, the burning desire aimed at fictional girls precisely because they're not real. The beautiful fighting girl is strong, pure, precociously sexual, but also distant and untouchable. So otaku, according to him, just want the emotional spark she ignites, that desire that can't be fulfilled, so he just keeps looping. He didn't pathologize this though, he just observed how desire adapts in today's world where fantasy is safer than real intimacy. I'm not also pretending to be above this, like I actually wept heavily for Asuka in her breakdown and I wanted to protect her and make her feel okay, and I wanted to be the only person who wouldn't abandon her like everyone else did. It was somewhat similar for Reina from Higurashi, who is in my wallpaper right now, by the way, and I sometimes wanted to be the kind of man she would be proud of. I know that's so cringe. And you might think this a bit funny also, but by the way, I also am incapable of even watching Higurashi, so I just spoiled everything myself. Like, I've seen some clips of it, and these things only made me feel like I'm about to literally get PTSD. That's not a hyperbole or anything at all. I actually mean it. I had physical reactions in real life from just seconds of seeing Keiichi slamming the door against Reina's fingers, and I just completely lost it. Like, my heart started pounding and I was breathing heavily, and I even had my brain imagining alternative scenarios where I intervened and begged them not to hurt each other, and like even gave Reina some first aid if she needed them. And that's especially because the characters there were fundamentally good, but just extremely paranoid because of some disorder. And they were stuck in time loops, so there were tons of actual immersion scenes that I don't want to remember. And I'm sure that if I just watch one of them again or something different, I'd probably yell for a second and close the tab. And yes, this is probably my worst nightmare ever. I just cannot really compartmentalize emotions much. And anyway, let's move on to the main point. Now, yes, there are of course some rare anime girls who are closer to being actually trad and want to be wives and mothers, like Nagisa from Clannad, but in general, and you probably might have started realizing it, they're just aesthetically feminine, and you don't see them having faith or motherhood or a home to build. I mean, that's what Ozma said, to that you're not loving a person, but his collection of features. Like, most of them are in harems, fantasy worlds, sci-fi settings, and they're just having that costume. You know, Lane said, if you don't remember something, it never happened, except we're remembering experiences we never actually had with girls who never even existed. I don't really hate anime. Some of it can be life-saving or truly artistic, but I just don't like how some people attach heavily to them, or like corporations take their money with so-called merch or something, and I don't know, make them like docile consumers. But yeah, I think that's all. That's about it.